Or no? Did you want to wait till we talked about Ginger before we start our Floyd profile, or wait till afterwards? By the way.
Well, actually, what I wanted to do is just tell people to find it, listen to it,
Yeah.
and not go any further with it.
Okay, there. Just listen and watch for yourself. That's all we need to say there. Now,
It's worth a listen.
yeah, you will flip out. Believe me, you will be like, I guarantee it, man. I was like, when I got that thing in the Gmail that you sent me while I was at lunch, I was like, holy cow, huh?
Yeah,
Now,
quite unique.
well, for what we're talking about, group of people who are listening, it's a band called Ginger, but instead of two G's, it's two J's. So you get where it's a misspelling there on purpose. We encourage
And
you,
the, and the song you're looking for is one called Pisces.
yes, and definitely when you, and we're not going to say anymore, but we're going to let you, the listener, check it out, look it up on YouTube, and believe me, you will be like, when you see how this girl
It
sings.
is worth the listen.
Absolutely,
It will absolutely amaze you.
definitely. And I often suggested to Ark here to put the link for both YR and Prince Idol here to check it out there. They will be like, holy shit, screw, or what, because damn,
Well, I especially would like to Prince Idol to hear it.
especially there. All right, now we'll have to wait, of course, till Prince Idol gets back. I guess he is having lunchy lunch now. I guess.
Well, the first part of Prince, the to me, there's three distinct. I mean, there's more than three,
I'm
but
still here, Doc.
there's three distinct Pink Floyds
I'm still
Hmm.
here,
in
Doc. Can
my
you hear me?
mind.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, I hear you, Prince Idol. What's up, dude?
I'm still here. I'm still listening. I'm
All
still
right,
here.
all right,
Still
good.
with you.
Here, yeah. Did you get a glimpse of what we were talking about? The group that we're mentioning that we mentioned.
Yes, I did. I've
Yeah.
been listening the whole time.
All right, all right. Believe me, you will not be disappointed because
I
that,
definitely want you to hear it.
yeah, definitely, you'll be
Yes.
like, holy cow! We can't wait to hear YR's reaction to this as well.
Yeah,
Yes.
because that's kind of up his alley. He might even already know about him.
All right.
I don't know. I have no. I know that he's metal, and this band. God, I don't know what to call them.
It's kind of like
I
a
think
Now,
they're metal, but not
and
really.
I'm interested. When you say it like that, I'm interested. You say I don't even know what to call them. That's hype enough for me.
all right.
That's good
Well,
hype enough.
I think they're kind of metal, but it it's elements. I mean, it's well. Hear the song, and you'll know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
it's called Pisces. Listen to it on YouTube, or Art can put the link in
Oh,
the
it's on
list.
YouTube.
All right, good. Yeah, definitely. Look it up there and you see what the hell we're talking about. And we're talking ginger with two J's instead of two G's in there, by the way.
Yeah, Jinjer.
Mm-hmm.
And I would encourage everybody to take a listen and see for yourself because this group, they're Ukraine based
Mm.
and they're highly unique.
Yeah, a lot of bands are from the Europe I kind of consider highly unique when you think about it there. Like the band that we were mentioning, Nightwish, for the
Yeah, they're
gods of
Finland.
Finland rock. Yeah,
They're a symphonic metal band.
yeah.
Well, let's put it this way: they cover Phantom of the Opera.
Yes, I remember they did that a few times there. I remember their former singer Tarja Turin and their bass player Marco. What I think his name is the guy with the
Yeah,
massive.
Marco.
Yes, Marco. They did a pretty excellent rock cover of that song right there. When you look at it,
Yeah, and actually, there's also a version with the new singer Floor Jansen.
yeah.
Yeah,
And I guess you
they're both
understand.
good because they've had three lead singers,
Yeah,
and all three of them are very similar.
yeah. Though Floor Jansen, I from what I understand, is a lot more like the original vocalist Tarja Turin, if I am correct.
Yeah,
Mm. Whereas
that
Annette
band is
Hope,
definitely worth a listen.
whereas Annette Hosen was more like a usual girly girl singer there when you think about it there.
Yeah,
Yeah, but Nightwish is one of those unique bands. Like I said, my ex girlfriend was big on them. She would have wanted to check them out if they came in the up to about when he came to America. But the problem is most of the club owners don't really know who they are. They'll both see she'll be like Mexis. she would actually say things like, America is so sexist for not accepting this kind of metal. It's like, excuse me, that's just how it is at times. There are bands here in the States that don't really do well in their home country here, but they're massively big in other countries. I mean, for example, the Runaways. They were not
Right.
that. They released albums here and there, but they would still play clubs. But yet they'd be a massive success in Japan.
Yeah. I mean, well, countries have different tastes.
I know,
Basically,
yeah,
what you get down
that's
to
true.
it.
There, yeah, yeah,
Anyway, on the subject of Pink Floyd,
that's right.
we'll start at the very beginning.
Yeah,
Their
Thanks.
first few albums were mostly psychedelic.
yeah. And we're talking the Piper Gates at Dawn here, which came out in I guess '67. I guess it was.
I think it was.
Yeah,
It was early. It was the mid '60s. I know that.
yeah. That's
Um,
during the Summer of Love, the same year that Sgt.
Yeah.
Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band came out. The Summer of Love was in full bloom at that time. There, you know.
This version of the group had Sid Barrett on guitar and vocals,
All right.
and it still had Waters, Wright, and Mason.
Yeah, so that's
Roger
right.
Waters.
Sid Barrett. I guess his real name was Roger Keith Barrett. There, I don't know how he got the Sid name, but then probably he gave it to himself as a stage name or something like that. And
But
I
they
know.
started this album out with Astronomy Divine,
Yeah,
and boy, what a start!
it was
I mean,
absolutely.
that song is incredible.
Yeah, and
And like I said, this album is mostly psychedelic.
Lucifer
Side
Sam.
2 opens with Interstellar Overdrive, which
Yeah.
is a 9-minute tour de force instrumental
Yep.
that really gets trippy.
Yeah, it really does. Yeah. In fact, by the way, there's this little video I saw. There was a festival in Sweden. Pink Floyd jamming with Frank Zappa on that particular track.
That doesn't surprise me.
No surprise at all, but that's very interesting there. And
And a lot of the other songs in this album are very good too.
and by the way, if that's really Foulmouth Ken in my chat up there, feel free to call on the show, dude.
Oh yeah, he might have seen. I was able to get a little plug from Devious Dave
Yeah, guys, he
because
really.
he was on earlier.
Yeah, I was
And he was
listening.
started talking about some of the shows that were coming on tonight, and I mentioned it.
All
And
right.
he gave us a plug, so they're
All
cool.
right, nice. Thank you, Devious Dave, for the plug on our show. So, let's see who will be tuning in later on. Plus, I always plug our show on almost all my vlogs on my channel there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Goodness. Now,
Now this first album, the re-release,
yeah,
where they kind of packaged it up and put it out with other things, also had two of their early singles.
yeah.
Uh,
Arnold Lane.
Arnold Lane and See Emily play.
Yes, I've heard See Emily play. I heard See Emily play a few times there, and Arnold Lane's a pretty crazy song. But when you think about it, it's about a guy who steals women's underwear.
Yeah, like I said, this group was their first. Oh, I'd say 3 or 4 albums. We'll divide it up in a minute.
That's right.
Were psychedelic.
Hmm.
I mean, the only touch of prog you see in the early albums is Interstellar Overdrive in the first one. That's very proggy.
Oh,
And now the second album did have some prog
yeah.
of sorts,
And we're talking.
but it was still psychedelic.
Yeah, and it was. And by the way, this is the album that would introduce David Gilmour into the group. Apparently,
Yes.
at that time, Sid Barrett's erratic behavior was getting way out of control. I mean, there were times where he would
So
stop
they incorporated Gilmour in.
as
Yes.
as a backup in case Sid didn't want to decided to spaz out. Gilmour would fill in for the rest of the song there. In fact, there was one situation where I think I mentioned this. I read about in a magazine. Barrett took these pills that he crushed them up, took some hair cream, and then mixed them all up, smeared it over his face. When he later gets on stage with the Floyd, the stage lights starts causing the hair cream and stuff to drip on his face. So from a distance, it looked like his face was melting.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, there you are. Why?
I'm saying like,
What up?
he took like pills to like get high on. What do you mean?
Oh yeah.
Well,
In
yeah,
fact,
that was the thing
if
back
you want
then.
a good read,
Yeah.
Read A Saucer Full of Secrets.
Yeah.
It's the story of early Pink Floyd.
Yeah, back then it was the drugs like that, like psychedelics, LSD. Those were the big things around that era there. But the mistake being made here by Barrett was schizophrenic, and anybody knows from the top of their head, you don't do psychedelic drugs, whether it's even whether including cocaine or heroin, when you have a mental illness, because obviously
Right.
it makes the
Well,
condition more worse.
you'll find out in the book that one of the other problems was when Sid went to parties, people thought it was fun to put drugs in his drinks
Yep.
and watch him react and see what he would do. And this got to be way out of hand.
Oh yeah.
After a while, he pretty much lost it.
Yeah, and he just couldn't concentrate, couldn't perform no more. And I guess what it was is that the Floyd decided, what, we have to can this guy. David Gilmour, you're the new guy now.
Yeah, and Barrett on that first album had a lot to do with some of the songs.
Yeah,
Second album was more along the lines of Waters, Wright. They
Gilmour.
did it.
Yeah, a lot of it.
Yeah.
That. In fact, that was. In fact, only one Sid Barrett song appears on Saucer Full of Secrets, the closing track, Jug Band Blues.
Yeah. Now, songs worth noting here, and I do have a list when we get to
Yeah,
it.
pretty good album, by the way. Is the second record is, by the way.
Let There Be More Light is a cool song.
Yeah, absolutely.
Set the Controls for the Heart of the Sun.
The original version there.
I love the titles to a lot of these songs.
Yeah.
A Saucer Full of Secrets.
The title cut, Corporal Clegg, which is that anti-war song.
Yeah. I mean, this album is, well, let's be honest.
Hold
Pretty
on.
much every Pink Floyd.
Who's calling?
It's Foulmouth Ken.
Oh,
Ken,
okay.
tell you what, Ken, I will add you because right now
He's
I'm
a-
deep in discussion.
I'll
here.
add him in. I'll add him in.
Yeah, good,
I'll
good,
add him in.
man.
He's a big Pink Floyd. He's a big Floyd fan.
Yeah,
too.
it's gotta we get the dude here,
Yes,
man.
I love that as well.
What's up?
I love their instrumental. I love their instrumental beats.
Oh man, you should check out the stuff from Amagama, which came on a couple
yeah,
years
we'll
later.
get to
That was a
Amagama.
trip ass
Amagama.
record.
I thought
We'll
that's
get
what
to that
Bullfrog used to do. I didn't know that was a song.
What's
I
up,
thought that was just something
Foulmouth Ken,
Bullfrog
ladies and
used to
gentlemen, has joined the call here.
Man, I tell you
Hey,
what,
what's up?
this is a group I could spend hours on.
Yes.
Yeah,
I mean, this group is phenomenal.
absolutely, man. The second
I didn't
biggest
realize
band.
that was a group.
Oh, it was
Daryl, what's the name?
Pink Floyd.
What's the name again?
Yes.
Pink-
Oh no, not Pink Floyd. I'm just saying the name. I know what Pink Floyd is.
Now you've always been a big Floyd fan, Ken. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Oh, I know. Yeah, dude. I know all this shit.
Ah, sweet. You
Oh,
come
if
to
you
life,
even go back to the first two albums, then you are definitely a Pink Floyd fan.
absolutely.
Oh yeah, dude.
And all the and by the way,
I've been
for
to
the
a
record,
couple of Floyd concerts.
nice lasers, stage lights, and everything.
Well, the DVD to own is the Pulse concert.
Yeah, I heard
You know
about
what
it. A
they
lot
had
of
for years out here? You know what they had for years out here?
what?
They had the Pink Floyd laser light show.
Yeah, they used to have it back in Michigan
Yes.
just as well, like places like the
They used
Royal
to have
Vista
it around
Theater.
here.
Yeah, they had them almost everywhere
They
there.
have it all the time here. Yeah, they had it in a big aquarium place here on Long Island, and it was a really cool like 3D, 4D type of show that they were doing. Music.
Yeah, we kind of talked a little bit about Sid, who, after he was kicked out, had a few solo albums too.
Yeah,
which were,
produced by Waters and
spacey.
Gilmour, by the way.
they were spacey.
Very spacey. But then again, the condition Sid was in at that time, it was, of course, it was expected to be.
Yeah, but like I said earlier, their first
And it was
three or
kind of
four
funny,
albums
I got-
were
I know what I
largely
mean.
psychedelic.
You know what? I need to
And-
go. I need to talk about this. Here's something else, and this is given part on the Gilmour and Waters and the rest of Floyd. For doing this, they made sure Sid Barrett got paid well for the songs he performed and wrote for those two albums. Even though he became a recluse afterwards, lived with his ma up until her death there. He was definitely a wealthy recluse when you look at it there, because despite the wars that Gilmour and Waters had got into throughout the years, they both made sure Sid got his full justice of dollar bill royalties, you name it there. Because people are
Yeah.
still buying those albums because to find out about this guy, you know. And that's to say that all the Pink Floyd albums out there, you know, except the Endless River, which came out in 2014, you know, they've been reissued, they've been remastered on 180-gram vinyl on their label, Pink Floyd Recordings.
Earl,
Yeah, yeah.
you guys are a little bit older. So this question I definitely have to ask you and Mr. Strobel being here.
hmm
How do you guys feel about John Hinckley being let out of jail?
What?
I don't think that's proper, but that's me.
Well, I
Yeah.
know that he's released a couple of videos of him performing songs. I checked out one of those after
John Hinckley?
John Hinckley, yes. He apparently he wrote a few songs. He sang them, and he has them on. It's on YouTube, I understand. I was like,
Wow.
holy shit, wow.
Really?
But yes, I
Serious?
saw him. Yes, there's a Facebook music group called Track of the Day that posted one of his videos. I'm like, huh? Really? Huh? And I'm like, check that out. It's like, wow, interesting. It's like the guy who, I don't know, but it's kind of interesting. The guy who tried to kill President Reagan to impress Jodie Foster. It's like, wow, he's actually a singer.
Well, this is very weird. It's becoming like a fad now of them letting people out of jail that, because the guy RFK was let out, that dude recently.
Yeah,
The guy who killed RFK.
yeah.
And,
Robert Kennedy.
Yeah, and you know who else they're thinking about letting out soon?
Who?
The son of Sam.
What?
gosh.
Are you serious?
That's what I heard. I don't know if it's an internet rumor or something, but yeah.
Yeah, but here's the thing: has he has he learned his lesson on what not to do? Because too many times we
Well,
see so many people,
Well,
get let out
I
of jail
doubt
to
it.
do the same shit again.
I
Well,
doubt
my
it.
personal opinion is learn your lesson. You killed somebody. You tried to kill
Yeah.
somebody.
More. In the son of
lesson-
Sam, he
Jail,
killed
stay
more.
there.
The lesson, your lesson should be, if you took somebody's life, your lesson should be that your life is now taken.
Absolutely.
No longer have a normal life. That's it.
And besides,
That's it.
if he does get out of jail, all the friends and families of all the victims that he killed, they'll probably have their revenge upon him.
Well, look at guys that are on YouTube right now. What's his name? Fucking guy who put Gotti away.
Oh,
Sammy the Bull Gravano. The
ah,
guy's making thousands and thousands of dollars a week now as a YouTuber.
wow,
telling
interesting.
Telling stories about how he killed people and
Wow.
how he killed them in detail. And he's putting it on YouTube and making money off of these people's deaths now.
Wow.
And then
Yeah.
YouTube bans people talking about
Yeah,
other stuff.
Yep.
I know.
Unreal.
exactly. If we mention Biden more than 5 times, they throw you off the internet. You know?
Or in this case, supporting Trump, we get in trouble with
Yeah.
that.
That's crazy, man. It's crazy. It's really like the upside down world, bro.
I know.
You know?
Yeah.
Real great. Is this a music show or political talk? Come on, guys. It's
I
No,
know.
this
man.
has
There
to
you
do
go.
with it.
Yeah, well, Ken
Yeah.
wanted to throw that in there, but
no. Listen, I went live on my channel for a couple minutes just to plug your
I
channels
thought this was
live.
the YR
so you can go over
program.
Let's
for a
do
second.
this.
Pink
Okay.
Floyd talk. Jacob RP knows a lot about
Back
Pink
to
Floyd.
Pink Floyd. Their third album was a soundtrack. More.
Yes, I have that. I had that on vinyl. That originally came back or was released on Capitol Records distributed label called I guess it was called Track Records. I think it was. No, it was.
Yeah.
It was a different.
It's a good soundtrack.
It is.
The one song on there that really stuck out for me was the Now song.
The Now
Yes,
song. Yes,
yes.
that was
That
heavy.
song is
What music are you guys
incredible.
talking about?
Pink Floyd.
Yes.
Oh, Pink Floyd. Yeah,
Yes.
a lot of people like Pink Floyd. I've
Oh,
never
yeah.
really heard Pink Floyd like that.
Oh man, you got to listen. We got the album.
There's a lot of parts of music that I've never tapped into. I've always been stuck to either just hip hop and salsa, or like also some Frank Sinatra. I do like Frankie,
Nice.
Oh, that's
but
good.
Pink
man.
Floyd I never gave a chance to because I just never grew up grew up.
Oh,
hearing
you
Pink
come to
Floyd.
the right place, Jacob. You'll definitely sit down, take a seat, and learn. Because
There's
we're gonna
definitely a
teach
lot of music out there that I have yet to learn about. which is
Oh,
pretty
oh, yeah.
embarrassing for my age.
Well, that's what we're trying to do here. We're on, what is it, 63?
Yeah.
Yeah.
64.
I
I'm
think
gonna
so.
sound
Yeah.
fucking stupid, but is Pink Floyd a girl or a guy?
It's a band.
Pink Floyd, the group of four.
It's a band.
It's a band.
Oh my
yes.
I sound
God.
fucking
Oh
stupid
my
as hell.
god.
Hey, don't worry about it.
You know
It's
what?
okay.
You know what? Believe it or not, remember the Pink character in the Wall album and movie?
Yes,
That was
yes.
that was a joke inspired by some of the promoters and agents asking, "Which one's Pink?" to the members.
Yeah, which is kind of
I
weird.
started with Tupac and Biggie. That was my start.
I see.
Yeah, that's why Pink Floyd wasn't really in my category.
I am.
It can
Yeah.
be though. It's never too late.
Yeah, it's true.
Well,
I'm gonna start
as
actually
we go
looking it up.
along, we'll kind of point out ones you should start with.
All right.
Because I wouldn't start with Piper at the Gate It's On. It's worth listening to. It's a very good listen, but it's not truly the Pink Floyd everybody knows.
No. It's how they
Okay,
started
next
out.
album was Ummagumma, which is a double set
Great album.
record.
Great
band,
album.
live,
Absolutely.
record 2 is studio.
Yeah, and the studio album it features separate pieces spotlighting the members of the group. Like parts 1, 2, and 3. Sisyphilus, if that's what it's pronounced.
Sisyphus.
Sisyphus. Yeah, that features Richard Wright. The second piece. A couple 2 pieces there. Grantchester Meadows and small species of animals gathered together in a cave and grouped
That's
with
one
a
of my
big.
favorite song titles of all time.
Yeah, that's it. And by the way, that piece features Roger Waters doing with tape loops, going speed it up, slow down, making all those noises. That's Waters himself there. And this is way before the samplers, way before auto-tune, way before all these technical devices that these studios today have.
And the piece actually sounds like several several species of small furry animals gathered together
In a pit.
in a cave, grooving in a pit.
Yes.
I mean, it's really space. It was
really
psychedelic,
trip out. Really trip out. Really tripped out to listen to there. And by the way, also David Gilmour has a little piece of his own called "The Narrow Way" Parts 1, 2, and 3. There,
Right.
yes, and of course the album that piece ends with the Grand Vizier's Garden Party, which features the percussion work of Nick Mason. And here's something
Yeah,
else.
so they all had their own little songs.
Little pieces there to spotlight their talents. Of course, the live album featured 4 tracks: Astronomy, Dotomy, Careful with That Axe, Eugene, which is a
Yeah, that
piece.
one will freak you out.
Especially Roger Waters' scream on that track there before it builds up there. That scream is probably one of the most blood-curdling, sounds
It'll take you
ever.
out of your seat.
Absolutely there. Give Waters his credit. Not only was he the great lyricist and the main songwriter of the group, he also had this massive scream which would just freeze your blood cold. It's like, holy shit, dude. Of course, side 2 we have, the set the controls for the Heart of the Sun, the live version there, which I prefer mostly to the studio version, and the live version of A Saucer Full of Secrets. Holy cow, that was massive.
Yeah, I mean, they're still in their psychedelic era.
Yeah.
They pretty much stayed here. Well, we'll get to the album that they kind of changed on.
Yes.
And it was gradual because the album before, well,
Yeah.
we'll get to it.
Absolutely.
Next album was Adam Hart Mother.
Yeah, the Adam Hart
Which was
Mother
definitely
Suite.
trippy.
Yeah, it was because it featured a full orchestra and a choir on the title piece itself there. The rest of the album on side 2 would include a couple of ballads like Summer 68, If, Fat Old Son, and a piece called Alan's Psychedelic Breakfast, which featured, featured some guy, pouring cereal and eating it as well while David Gilmour plays an acoustic guitar song there. And that was pretty much, it was kind of mellow when you look at it there.
Yeah, it's a good album, though.
It is.
You won't hear me say the words bad album for Pink Floyd, except I'm going to come close on one of them.
All right.
We'll get to it.
Okay.
Next album is probably one of my pre-Dark Moon favorites, Dark Side of the Moon favorites, Metal.
Oh yeah, Meddle. That's when they started to really come out of their own. And by the way, for the record, the cover for that album, no, is actually a human ear collecting sound waves underwater.
Yeah, it looks like a camel head or something.
I
I don't
know,
know,
something
but
like that. I thought it was a nose at first. It turns upside down for some reason there. And then when you open the gatefold and you look at it from a sideways, that I see what you're talking about there. I see. And this is the album to feature both the phenomenal tracks "One of These Days" and, of course, the epic "Echoes."
and this is where you start hearing the prog come in.
Yes.
Those two songs.
Yeah. Yes, and if
Those
you
songs are
Ken
definitely.
Prince, if you ever hear if you ever listen to the piece "Echoes," definitely check it out, man.
Oh yeah.
All right.
And One of These Days is. It's only got one lyric in it, but it's one that's gonna kind of. You really got to listen to hear what he's saying. But he says, "One
Absolutely.
of these days, I'm going to cut you into little pieces."
Yep, and that's after the bridge there, where Waters has that tremolo effect on his guitar there.
And
Bet
that
there's-
song on the Pulse, they played it on the Pulse tour.
Yes,
Incredible.
yeah, absolutely. Although it's not Waters not playing bass on that tour there. It's
No,
a guy
I
named
think
Guy
it's
Pratt.
Isn't he like somebody's son-in-law?
Yeah, I'm not too sure of his son-in-law. I just remember his name was Guy Pratt, I think it was.
Yeah. But that album right there is where Pink Floyd really started breaking the mold.
Mm-hmm. And of course, we go on to another soundtrack to another French film, The Valley. In the state, it was called Obscured by Clouds, Music from the Valley.
And it's got some great little tracks on it, too.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. The title cut, When You're In, Burning Bridges, The Gold It's in the, What's on the Deal, Mudmen, Childhood's End, which is a good one, Free For, another anti-war song, a ballad called Stay, composed and sang by Richard Wright, and the closing track, Absolutely Curtains, which ends with this, some, I think it's an Indian choir, I guess, I'm not too sure what they're singing there, but it's an album. It's definitely a good album to close it. It's a good. It's a good piece to close an album out when you think about it
Right.
there.
Okay, and before we move on, because this is where I had my first divide,
Hmm.
because to me, although the second Pink Floyd is playing early,
Yep.
Dark Side of the Moon kind of separates them.
Yep.
And my first list is the early stuff from those albums that we just talked about.
Yes.
And if I was going to make recommendations, my number 10 would be Saucer Full of Secrets.
Mhm.
My number 9 would be Set the Controls for the Heart of the Sun.
All right.
My number 8 would be a song called Biding My Time,
Mm.
which you can only find on one of their hits collections.
Ah.
But that song's got some phenomenal
Ah.
stuff going on.
I see there.
Then 7 is See Emily Play.
Hmm.
6 is Let There Be More Light. 5 is Interstellar Overdrive. 4 is One of These Days. 3 is, sometimes I can't read my own damn writing, Astronomy Divine. 2 is The Nile Song.
Ah.
And my number 1 from this era, if I was going to recommend somebody find a song to listen to and really get the gist of Pink Floyd, Echoes.
Ah. Yeah.
I mean, to me, that is such a phenomenal song.
Ah.
It's unreal.
Oh wow.
Is Ken still with us?
Yeah, he's still
Yeah,
right
I'm
here.
here.
Yep, he's just listening along here.
So, did I miss anything?
No, not really. No. Now we're going to get into the Pink Floyd, the successful Pink Floyds after this, because as we know, Dark Side Moon comes out in '73,
And this is the
massive
prog
album.
Pink Floyd.
Yeah, this is when this is when Pink Floyd becomes an absolute household name. That album goes to
How can
number
you
one.
have any meat if you don't eat your supper?
Well, actually, that's
That's later
from
on. That's
The
in
Wall,
1980 at the wall there, which we will definitely get to
But
there.
what year are we talking now, though? What year? What
19,
year are you guys into now?
1973, Dark Side of the Moon.
if I
That's
was going
out.
to recommend a first album listen, this is it.
Yep. This is the
So
one
that
that
was
every
the first one.
no, no. The first one was Piper at the Gates of Dawn. This is the album
And
Dark
that was
Side
what? What year was that?
67.
Okay, wow, man. They spanned a long time too, huh?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
They
Oh, yeah.
started in 1965. Believe it or not.
Holy shit!
Yeah, a lot of bands that we started a lot of years before. Think about it.
Well, you think of Pink Floyd in the '80s? They were like, they had a following by then that was like really
Oh,
big,
yeah.
you know. But,
Yeah.
Yeah,
but they were
massive.
still kind of like, not like they were mainstream at that point, but they weren't like sellout mainstream.
Right.
They
Where
They
they
were
were on
pop.
every billboard.
They never went
Yeah,
pop.
you know,
No,
like they were.
they
No,
didn't
they
have.
never did. They never.
No, they hardly had any hit singles. I mean, like they allowed to have money. They allowed the song "Money" to be a hit single, but that would probably be it for now. That would, of course,
Well, that is this. Now, don't you that song "Money"? Man, what a fucking that sound from that era. Is in that song so much. That sound from that era.
yeah,
You know?
the
Right.
'80s there, because that was about making money.
Yeah, the early '80s. It had that disco-y, rocky, sound to it.
Yeah,
Yeah. And Dark Side of the Moon, like I said, is a good listen. Standouts for me off this particular album is Time, of course.
obviously there.
And I like The Great Gig in the Sky.
Yeah, because it
I often
features.
told,
Because it
That is
features
great.
what?
well, I
'cause
often told people I'd like that played at my funeral.
Wow, nice.
Yeah.
And of course, my
Oh, man,
favorite, my two favorite standout tracks would have to be "Breathe" and "On the Run"
Yeah, yeah.
because
Us
of that.
and Them.
Yes, and of course,
And
you
Brain
know,
Damage Eclipse is just incredible.
yeah, that's it. The
One
two
song on
closing
that
tracks.
album.
What
There's
happened,
one
Ken?
song on that album that reminds me of my grandfather. I forget the name of it, man. It's like song 7 or 8 on the album.
Mm.
Which one that is?
Any
Is
color
it,
you like?
No, that's an instrumental. I'm thinking probably Brain Damage,
Mm.
Eclipse.
Those two tracks
Might
there.
be, yeah.
Well,
I think it
Brain
might
Damage
be
has got the
Brain
one
Damage.
verse about the lunatic is in my head. The lunatic is in my
And the
head.
lunatic is on the grass. The
Yep.
lunatic is on the grass.
Yep.
Yeah.
You raise the blade, you make the
one right
change.
before that.
You rearrange
This
me
guy-
till I'm in,
Yeah,
so I'm sane.
Actually, no, I'm sorry. It's the one it's the song that they go into right after that song. The lunatic is on the grass song. That song.
Eclipse.
Eclipse, yeah, the closing
Yes.
track.
That's the one. That's the one, man.
And
That
all
song,
that you touch and all
so-
that you see.
Oh man, that fucking song is so deep. That could if you
Oh yeah.
don't listen to that and you don't get like emotional listening to that, man, you don't have a soul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Yep.
shit is like one of the greatest songs.
Oh yeah. This, but this is definitely an album that needs to be heard front to back.
Mm-hmm. And
Without
especially
that, you
with
can't listen to that album without playing it all the way through.
Yep.
and there's so
And
many.
of course, there's the rumor that it matched up with Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, I was going to mention
did.
about that.
Man, I watched it. I watched it a million times, man. I used to do it when I was a 14-year-old. It lines up perfectly.
It
Yeah,
does.
it's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
It's
Yeah,
amazing.
that part where they say the lunatic is on the grass and the scarecrow literally jumps onto the grass as soon as he says that. Crazy.
It
Yeah,
is.
I mean, there's a lot of things in the song that match up with.
Yeah,
movie.
like every
I
time
think
they
that
switch a
I think there's a YouTube now where they actually combine those two together perfectly. There,
There is.
Oh,
You
yeah,
can
I've
buy
seen
too. Yeah, you can also buy the DVD too.
absolutely, yeah.
But it's incredible. I don't know who figured that out or who did it.
That is
But,
crazy.
Probably the same
Well, there was
people who
rumors
keep.
that the album was. There was rumors that the album was made to that.
Wow.
Which, of course, the Floyd dislodged as well, which their drummer Nick Mason said was a load of rubbish.
Yeah.
But
So I
then
think
again,
it
the
is.
people probably. But then again, these are the people who came up with that theory. Kind of like were the same ones who thought that Revolution #9 was about Paul McCartney's death years before.
Yeah, but you know what though? You got to say, man, Floyd is like cryptic on a lot of shit. Pink Floyd.
Absolutely.
You know, so you never know with them, man. They could have done some crazy shit like that, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If there's one band that could have done it, it's them. You know?
Yeah. And something worth seeing too is if you ever get the Pulse DVD, they do that album in its entirety
Yes.
on the second disc.
Yes.
That's all.
Because
Yeah.
Pink Floyd.
And with all the effects going on at the same time.
Yes.
Oh man.
You got to remember.
I love how all the songs mix into each other.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I mean, it's definitely one big.
And the engineer who
man.
credit the engineer who did that, Alan Parsons.
Yeah, but did they plan that? Like the engineer planned that, or did they plan that?
I'm thinking possibly, maybe so, since it was a concept album. When you look at it, about the ones going
Has
insane.
anybody ever did that? Like you guys would know this because you're such music buffs. Did anybody do that leading up to that point when that album came out?
Well,
like where they strung all the songs together.
The Moody Blues did it a lot.
Yes, they did a lot on their earlier records. The Core 7 there, the Core 7 albums.
So they would mix. They would mix in songs into
fade into one another.
Days of Future Past does it definitely.
Yeah, so did In Search of the Lost Chord.
In Search of the Last Chord. Well, all of them did, but
all of them.
The classic.
It seems
7.
like the greatest albums. It seems like some of the greatest albums did that kind of concept.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, the Echoes compilation did that just as well there.
Yeah, the Echoes, like I said, that's just a phenomenal piece of music.
Yeah.
I can't call it a song. To me, it's a piece of music.
It's yeah, absolutely. I think it's an epic.
Welcome to the machine.
Which is another epic, by the way.
Which we're going to get to now. That's the next album. Is
Wish You Were Here.
Yep. Oh, like another juggernaut.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is another one worth. If you're going to start out with Pink Floyd, that would be among the ones you think about.
And this is a new change of direction there. Well, not basically. Basically,
it's still prog.
It's still prog, but it's like now that Dark Side became a massive success, how do we top this one off? At the same time, they just signed a new deal with CBS Records, where within their contract, they were granted copyrights of their music.
Yeah, and that first song, "Shine On You Crazy Diamond," it's pretty much Sid Barrett.
It is. It's about him.
His story.
This spotlight there. And what are the funny things about making that album while they were doing the Shine On sessions? Guess who pops into? Yep, we all know. And there's a photograph of him in the studio, looking as he was at that time, totally different than what he looked in the past. But you could tell it's still him. Sid Barrett.
Who was it?
Sid Barrett.
Really?
Their founding member, who had to leave because his mental state was getting out of control there.
Yeah.
He shows up while the band was doing a song about him, "Shine On Your Crazy Diamond." And then he kept getting up, walking to the bathroom, brushing his teeth multiple times. Everyone to the studio is like, "Who's that guy? Do you know who that guy is?" "I don't know who that guy is." Then he realized it was Sid. It was Sid. And
that must have been fucked up for those guys in there as they're recording that.
Yeah, it was, because he didn't know who he was. He did not recognize him. He was bald.
Dude, that's crazy shit.
Yeah, and especially how he looked back then.
They got to make the Pink Floyd movie, man. Come on.
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah.
If they do, it have to be a 3-part.
Think about it, though, man. They made movies about all these fucking guys.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
Like, come on.
There's a huge story in this movie.
Oh, yeah. They would have to make it a trilogy.
All their albums are wrapped around their lives and people they knew and like situations and so everything's connected to something.
lot
Yeah.
what's going on within the world there. I guess the final cut had some of the was kind of like written with the what was going on with the Falklands situation over
I
there.
ask you guys.
Yeah.
Can I ask you? I know it's a little premature, but what is your favorite track of all time from these guys?
Oh, well, I'll get to that in my list.
No, that's difficult for
Of
because
all
there's so
time,
many
it's
of them.
real difficult, actually.
Yeah,
But-
because like it's almost impossible. It's almost impossible to pick an all-time
Yeah.
song.
I mean, when I give you a top 10 list, any one of them could be number one.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's that good of a bunch of songs.
Yeah.
Now, one of the interesting things on this album is Have a Cigar was actually sung by a guy named Roy Harper
Yeah.
because
Really?
Waters couldn't sing it.
Yeah. And the song is about is the viewpoint of a record executive who welcomes Pink Floyd into their office, and who in the second verse they find out, we just heard about Dark Side becoming a big hit. You got to put another album out. You got to keep this straight. It's called Riding the Gravy Train. Basically, the whole album, Wish You Were Here, was about the music industry. Welcome to the
Yeah.
Machine. That was about welcome to the music
Oh, I
world.
love that.
Yeah. Welcome to, and the Machine. Yeah, and by the way, Waters spoke about the coming up with the same old hits, same hit songs after hit album, after hit tour,
Yeah.
after hit
That's
video.
why they never sold out, dude. That's
Yeah.
why they never went pop like Queen did, and like all these other groups that were around during the same time as them.
Yeah,
And you know
Pretty
what?
much
I don't
everybody
like to say
did.
this.
yeah, everybody.
You
a
know,
lot
and
of-
I don't like to say this, but I'll tell you this right now, and I don't like to say this because I am a huge fucking fan of Led Zeppelin. But even Zeppelin sold out at that point, man.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
started going like mainstream,
Yeah.
at the end there.
Yeah.
And
With Into the
for some
Outdoor?
reason- yeah, and for some reason, Floyd always stayed in the background, and they were always looked at as like a lesser group than some of those groups, but they were better than them.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know what I mean? They had deeper music, and they never sold out.
Absolutely.
yeah,
So, you know who else loves Floyd tremendously? And if he was here right now, he would be probably, he knows probably as much as you guys do about Floyd.
Yeah.
Is Filthy Mouth Gamer.
yeah.
Filthy Mouth Gamer.
You
Absolutely
you
loves.
think we could get him on the call here by chance?
I mean, you could try calling him. Try him out.
All right. I don't think I have
Another
him on
great
Skype
song in
yet.
this album was Wish You Were Here.
Yeah, the title cut
Oh,
there,
that's
which
a-
is
that's a classic.
That acoustic guitar and all, it's just a phenomenal song.
yes, and especially the introduction, the way Have a Cigar ends with a sort of, and it goes right to the track being played through a transistor radio. The person switches the dials, and next thing you know, it goes into the song there, still playing through
Yeah,
the
and-
transistor radio.
Well, it's funny, you on Have a Cigar, there is the one line in there that we've alluded to.
Yep.
About, oh, by the way, which one's pink?
Yep, that was the
Can I
joke.
ask you guys, do you remember the double CD that came out in the 90s? I think it was around like 94, 93. It
Pulse.
was a double CD of Pink Floyd. Yeah, Pulse. And it had the light that kept pulsing on
Right.
it.
Yes, I remember that. Yes, definitely.
Remember that shit?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah,
and
we
then
did
it
the
had,
live album.
it had
Definitely discussed that.
and, dude, that album, that was like 93, right? Around
94,
90.
yeah. Actually, 94, 95, I guess, because remember the Division Bell came out in 94 there. I had that on vinyl.
Vision Bell was fucking great song too, man. Wow, I remember that CD that was pulsing. I remember that, man. That was their live CD, right? Double disc.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Yep. Man, what a great CD that was. It
It
had
was.
that pulsing light on.
Yeah, and the DVD is definitely worth a pickup. It's a double set,
Oh, yeah.
and it pretty much covers the concert. The light show will blow your mind.
And by the way, I should point out, Pink Floyd had its reputation, but they're doing 2 sets a night on a concert performance there. They would do one set, take a break, and then to continue another set throughout for the rest of the evening. And a lot of the stuff on their stage, the lights, the lasers, and everything, the setup, they paid for that themselves. Because they had business, I guess they had business ventures on the side there. Either that or just after making tons of money from Dark Side of the Moon and The Wall there.
And all the light show and everything else going on in that concert matched up with the music perfectly.
Yep.
Oh yeah, that's why I think sometimes that they did do that album to the Wizard of Oz, because they are such sticklers when it comes to shit like that in their concerts and their music and everything matching up to something, everything meaning something. Like something from another album is put into another album, like a sound or
Right.
a little thing that you don't pick up on right away, but then you know what I mean. And years later,
Yeah.
they're still picking up on stuff in Floyd's music.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Still picking up on shit. You're talking 40 years later.
Yeah. Next album was Animals.
Oh yeah.
This was also an incredible concept album.
It was based on Animal Farm, the novel by George Orwell.
It's got dogs, pigs, and sheep. Well, it's got two little short things about pigs, three different ones and stuff.
Yeah.
But the main songs are dogs, pigs,
like
and sheep.
Something from another
And
album is put into
all three of them
another
have a
album,
point.
Absolutely.
sound or
Yeah, the dogs
Right.
were these businessmen, greedy businessmen. The sheep were these, well, I don't know about dogs, so let me take that back. The pigs were the greedy businessmen, not giving
Right.
a fuck about humanity or the environment and shit. Sheep were the people with no thoughts, no opinions, no nothing, vacant tons, just follow along like everybody else does. Follow along like what we say, what we believe, everything, which is how most of the people on social who will clock into social media are basically when you think about it. They're sheep.
what about all those face diaper wearing people out there right now that are driving in their cars all alone with fucking mask on?
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Yeah, in fact.
Precisely, man. Oh.
Fucking idiots.
I know. It's like, come on. That's the people who buy into the media, the people who buy into what the idiots have that to say here, blah, blah, blah. And like I said, this album was based upon the book Animal Farm by George Orwell, the guy who wrote 1984. There was an animated movie based on that book. In fact, you look on YouTube for the tracks from this album here. It basically has, clips from the movie mixed in with the song there. Kind of fits perfectly, especially with Pig's three different ones there. And of course, by the way, the third pig they're describing in that song was Mary Whitehouse, who condemned the band's music, saying it was evil, it was drug-inducing, this and that, and Waters just kind of like went off on, actually called her out, went off on her in that third verse of that track there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And by the way, that's the album featuring that one power station in England there. That place became an iconic place because that's what because especially people will drive by that place. If they ever get there, people will think, "Where's the inflatable pig in between the two towers, the two smokestacks there?"
Yeah, and it's funny because the pig kind of makes a comeback on the Pulset record during the video for
One of these days.
One of These Days.
Yep.
The second half of it, you see the pigs.
Yep. They did that at the Momentary Lapse of Reason tour just as well. I remember seeing A Delicate Sound of Thunder on video cassette back in the day.
Yeah. Well, they followed that one up with The Wall.
Yes, and interesting. And let me say this: this album was one of the this album ruled the charts throughout 1980. There were three albums you had to have. This one, Heaven and Hell by Black Sabbath, and Back in Black by AC/DC. Those were the three essential albums of 1980. The Wall spoke volumes for those who. Let me put it this way.
And this one was a double set.
Yes, it was. And it also later became a movie just as well, and a stage performance as well throughout 1980. They only selected 6 cities to perform this whole album in its entirety there. And it fits to say that anybody out there who went through the situations that the main character, Pink, went through, whether it's losing your parent during a war, or growing up with a disrespectful, controlling, manipulative parent, or getting involved with in a rock and roll band, but only resorting to becoming a human jukebox night after night, performing the same songs. You know, you got to keep the hits, going there. You know, the stress and the pressure for the managers, the record labels, your handlers, this and that. And to conclude with your wife, your husband, you know, being unfaithful to you behind your because you're on the road a lot of times there, or just feeling dissatisfied with the world around you, wanting to lash out at everybody who did you wrong, taking
You can't
revenge.
forget the schoolmaster.
Absolutely, the abuse from the students or the teachers, growing up just as well. If you have been through all the situations that the character Pink had went through, this album spoke for you massively. And a lot
Yeah,
of people
absolutely.
relate, and which is probably when you talk to a goth rocker, you know, as much as I did many times, they're related to both the album and the movie. In fact, here's someone else. You know the storyline to Antichrist Superstar by Marilyn Manson, which came out in '96. There's a part where the out of the cocoon, a worm emerges out as a monster fascist dictator. That's what the storyline is in Antichrist Superstar by Marilyn Manson. That came off. Who started that first? Pink Floyd. You watch the movie, you see what I'm talking about there. Yes. I mean, that album really spoke. And it was actually the first Pink Floyd album that I got. I heard so much. It came out in December of '79. I was intrigued by what I was hearing. I bought the album there. You know, I showed the what I bought there. I said, "Wow, what the heck is?" They took a look at the judge and the gatefold there. I was like, "Holy cow!"
My first one was, believe it or not, Piper at the Gates of Dawn.
Ah, no surprise. You know. And from that moment on, when I bought that album, I just started getting into them. So I bought Obscured by Clouds, Wish You Were Here, Animals, you know, the Moore soundtrack, you know, a couple others. It's just as well there. And
Well, it'll make you thirst for more. It will not whet
yeah,
your appetite.
absolutely. It's worked with Skinny Puppy, the Ramones, Black Sabbath, just as well there. Remember,
And
I'm a creature of habit when it comes to that.
yeah, now they followed this one up with the Final Cut.
Yeah,
And if there's a Pink Floyd album that's not among my top, this is it.
I know. That's a very
I mean,
depressing
there's
album.
some stuff on it that's good, but it doesn't match up to all of the others.
Yeah, the story was that this was originally supposed to have been a Waters solo record, but he decided to make a Pink Floyd record. Now, on this record, it was Waters, Gilmour, and Mason. Richard Wright had
Right.
already been out of the group there. Basically, he was let go during the recording of The Wall, but apparently for not pulling his own weight. Well, of course, obviously, Waters was doing all the writing at that point there, so how can Wright pull his own there when you think about it there?
Yeah, Waters had pretty much decided that he was the guy in charge and it was going to be his way.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course,
It's probably the best thing in the world for Pink Floyd that he did leave.
yeah, he would leave. He would leave in 1985 there, and this is where it really. This is. I'm sorry, but this album, The Final Cut, was a depressing piece of work. It was a very grim look at the world, you know, especially when you're coming out from a war there.
Yeah. Well, I have a top 10 for the middle part of Pink Floyd.
All right.
And I'll be honest, there's no Final Cut songs on it.
Uh-huh.
Number 10 is Time.
Yep.
Number 9 is In the Flesh. Number 8 is Us and Them. Number 7 is Wish You Were Here. Number 6 is Shine On You Crazy Diamond, both pieces. Number 5 is Run Like Hell, which that song on Pulse is incredible light show.
Yep.
Number 4 is Comfortably Numb, which on Pulse features one of the best guitar solos
Yeah.
you will ever hear.
Yep.
Number 3 is Brain Damage Eclipse. Number 2 is Dogs. And my number one favorite from this era is Sheep. For some reason, I really like that song.
Yeah, because of that. What's interesting, the manipulation of the Lord's Prayer into that song there.
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind
With
of
the
like,
computer, and it wasn't. It's a computerized voice that Wright is doing there, along with the
yeah,
actual men's call. Not really a men's, but a bunch of men, speak it out at the same time there.
yeah. But that song is just, by and large, it's incredibly heavy,
Yep.
but it's also very
Thought provoking.
melodic
Very fun.
and
Very.
thought provoking.
Yeah, absolutely. Because right now we got lots of sheep right now, following what
Yeah.
says right on social media.
Okay, after Waters left, uh,
The lawsuit would come about.
yeah,
Waters,
and
it was announced that Pink Floyd would start recording a new album without Waters. They wanted to continue on as Floyd, where Waters was like, nah, let's let it die. It's over. It's no more, you know. And Waters found out they were recording, they were going to record without him. He was like, nope, I'm Pink Floyd. It's my name. Me and Sid Barrett started Pink Floyd. You guys just came afterwards. And he filed a lawsuit against them from preventing them to use the name. Now, it would just drag out for a long while there, but eventually the court would rule in the Floyd's favor.
yeah,
So
and this is a good album.
yeah, it is a momentary lapse of reason, released in 1987. At that point, if you get the original press copies of it, it would just be Gilmour and Mason.
Mhm.
Richard Wright had not he had joined the group, but he would not officially be a full-time member once again until afterwards. So they would later add Wright to the reissues there as a trio.
Yeah, and actually, he did play on this album,
Yeah, he did. And on
but
the tour.
basically, the session music, the
Session
musician,
musician, yes.
and a lot of standout tracks on this album: "Learning
yeah.
to Fly," "Dogs of War,"
Yep.
"One Slip," "On the Turning Away."
A New Machine Parts 1 to 2, which he has this synthesized voice with an echo coming afterwards. And
Yeah.
Terminal Frost, which is a damn good song there. And plus, we can't forget the ending closing track, Sorrow.
Oh, that song is absolutely phenomenal.
Badass to the core there. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, that one, again, the Pulse tour.
Mhm.
On that tour is an incredible thing to watch with it synced with the lights.
Absolutely.
I mean, that song is absolutely great synced with the lights.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And they did the same thing with the momentary lapse of reason tour just as well there.
Yeah. Now, next album is one that I believe Ken mentioned a while ago.
Yeah, the
Division Bell.
Division Bell. That came out in 1994. And first track,
Great stuff.
first single from that album, I remember hearing it. It was called "Keep Talking." It featured the voice of Stephen Hawking on the track there. What was
I
that?
don't know.
I know, but it's interesting there. And that, of course, is about encouraging people to speak more, talk out, why you never
Right.
talk to me, or why the backup singers is asking this one person, why you never talk to me, and Gilmour is basically it's talking about how he's trying to get his words out, but he's unable to for some reason.
Yeah.
That conflict that often couples often have at times there.
And it had A Great Day for Freedom, Wearing the Inside Out, Take It Back,
Another good song there.
Coming Back to Life.
Yeah, a good intro to that song there. High Hopes, the closing track, And
Right.
plus, what's that one where it says like, so I open my door to my enemies. I tell them, can we wipe the slate clean? But they tell me to go fuck yourself and
I think that sounds like Poles Apart.
pulls apart. No, I think that's the other one there. No, that's the one that
Marooned?
comes after that's the third track from side one there.
Right, Marooned?
Maroon. That's that one. So that track. No, that's instrumental, but that won a Grammy, from what I understand there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What do you want from me?
yeah. That's about Waters, by the way, because apparently after momentary lapse of reason, he was still trying to get control of the name, but which he failed miserably again.
Oh, I remember the song you're talking about, but I don't remember which one it is.
I'm looking it up right now. Division Bell by Pink Floyd here on the Wikipedia. By the way, this would be the last official album from studio album for Pink Floyd there. Let's see here. Let's see here. Blah 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 here. Oh, no, it came out. They were still, by the way, on EMI over in the UK there, by the way. And back here in the States, it was on Columbia Sony. All right there. Okay, and I'm looking up here. Let's hear the tracks of the. God damn it. Okay, it's called Lost for Words. That's the name of the track
That's
I was
it,
looking.
yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. That's the one where he's talking about can we wipe the slate clean there that I mentioned previously there.
Yeah.
And by the way, the covers for this album here on would be, of course, it was done by Storm Thorgerson, who was one half the Hypnosis team there. It was him and
Right.
Audrey Powell who did all the album covers for Pink Floyd except for The Wall. That was done by Gerald Scarp with his crazy drawings there.
Yeah. And of course, we can't forget their live albums: Delicate Sound of Thunder,
Hmm.
Pulse, which we talked about a little bit already,
Yep.
and The Last Days of Pompeii was a good one.
Yeah, I gotta check. You mean Pink Floyd at Pompeii? I guess it was called there.
Yeah. Last Days of Pompeii is a book.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Okay.
understandable. Yeah. As I checked out a couple of pieces on YouTube, especially with their rendition of Echoes on that track there.
Oh boy,
Yeah,
that is definitely worth a listen.
absolutely.
And they did have a few compilation albums,
Yeah,
and I think that one of the songs I mentioned, "Biding My Time,"
yeah.
is on one of these compilations, but I don't remember which one.
Well,
That song is. Go ahead.
the ones I remember were Works in '83 that came out on Capitol. That was basically stuff in their earlier EMI collection there, including stuff with
Right.
Dark Side of the Moon and Piper at the Gates of Dawn there. They had Relics, which featured mostly the early stuff there. They also
Right.
they also had this one compilation called A Nice Pair, which side 1 and 2 was Piper at the Gates of Dawn, and side 3 and 4 was A Saucer Full of Secrets.
Right.
Two of the earlier,
And that might be the album "Biding My Time's" on. I don't know.
maybe yes.
But that song is so unique and different overall
I know.
that it's kind of worth finding. And yes, I have a list of those albums. Tough
Nice.
songs. Okay. I did some work on Pink Floyd.
Nice.
At number 10, I got is "What Do You Want From Me?"
Hmm.
Number 9, "Keep Talking." 8, "One Slip." 7, "High Hopes." 6, "Dogs of War." 5, "Coming Back to Life." 4, "Sorrow."
Hmm.
3, "Learning to Fly." 2, "On the Turning Away." And number 1 for me is "A Great Day for Freedom."
Nice. Good song there. I'm looking up Nice Pair on the Wikipedia here. It's, of course, reissuing the two first albums, as we mentioned, in the new gatefold sleeve. It was released in December of '73 on Harvest, which was their, back then was distributed by Capitol Records in the States. And the following month in the UK by Harvest and EMI. It reached number 36 in the U.S. Billboard charts. It was certified gold by the Recording Industry Association of America in March of 1994. Wow, it took that long. Now, there's a couple differences between the U.S. and U.K. versions of this compilation. The U.S. version and its distributor Capitol Records reconstructed their edition from tapes that had been previously altered for the debut '67 album Pink Floyd, simply called that. The original U.S. title for Piper at the Gates of Dawn and other recordings, which were cut from the UK version. As expanded on the note on the back cover of the US edition, songs dumped from the US Pink Floyd albums, Astronomy Domini, Bike, Flamin' are restored for this reissue. However, some of the restored songs that appeared in versions that are different from the UK Piper version. The 8-minute Amagama recording of Astronomy Domini replaces the original 4-minute track studio recording. Interstellar Overdrive fades out slightly early, as it did in the U.S. debut album, adds a few seconds of silence before the Gnome, rather than using the siege between these songs, as found as on the UK version, and a track called Flamin' is an alternative mix and edit which previously appeared as a US single, and the only track to appear on this album in mono. In later pressings, a correct studio version of the track was restored, while the other songs contributed to appear in the versions described here. The US version of this album was also released in Canada just as well there. Now, the cover art, of course, is Hypnosis, which designed many Floyd album covers, and this is what really intrigues me about that album. It consists of 4 grinds and 9 small images, including some proposed but previously unused album cover designs.
Wow.
Several images depict a well-known phrase or saying in the form of a visual pun. For instance, the center right the center right-hand panel of the front depicts a fork in the road, while the bottom right represents a fine kettle of fish. Another picture represents 2 puns on the album title, a nice pear, P-E-A-R, the fruit,
Right.
and an image of a woman's pair of breasts, the later, which was, by the way, was censored with a black bar on some copies. While some U.S. copies opted to cover the breast with a purple and white sticker over the shrink wrap, initial copies had a picture of Mr. V.R. Fang's dental surgery on the cover, a genuine business photograph in Hammersmith, West London. But Dr. Fang objected because N.H. dentists were not permitted to advertise, and the picture was replaced with one of a gargling monk. U.S. editions of the 1980s restored both the nudity and the W.R. Fang photo. The selection of band photos in the inside cover were also varies, with some copies including a photo of a shirtless, disturbed-looking Syd Barrett from the Madcap Laughs photo session, one of his solo records, while others replaced it with a photo of a smiling Barrett sitting in a car. It was their next U.S. release next to Dark Side of the Moon, and introduced the new fans to the early psychedelic sound of the Syd Barrett period of the Floyd, which contrasted greatly to their stylish, more recent work. Finally, the worldwide reissue of the original 2 albums on CD, including the original UK version of the Piper at the Gates of Dawn. A nice pair, sadly, is now out of print.
Yeah, the all 5 of those guys had a solo career too of sorts.
Absolutely,
They all released solo albums.
Yeah, I remember the only time I saw any member of Pink Floyd live was in '84 at the then called Pine Knob Music Theater with my dad when David Gilmour was playing there. We saw some of his live work on MTV at that time. It's like, we got to see this guy in concert, and my dad agreed. Now we went and checked that out there. And he liked it. It was a pretty damn good show. Next to the Iron Maiden show of following year. And it was, what's interesting, I was tempted to see Roger Waters do his Radio Chaos tour, but I opted out there because, for some dumb reason. Nick Mason had a solo record. It's called Fiction and Sports, which was which originally was a collaboration between him and an instrumentalist named Carla Bley.
Yeah, and Richard Wright had one too, but I don't remember the name
And
of it.
it was called Wet Dream. This came out
Yeah,
between Animals and the Wall.
of course, Roger Waters had Hitchhiker's Guide.
You know,
Uh,
pros and cons
couple
of
of yeah.
hitchhiking, Radio
Sorry, I was
Chaos.
thinking of the British show.
Uh-huh. And of course, Amused to Death from 1992.
Yeah,
And and of course, Waters remained bitter about the fact that Pink Floyd carried on without him for many ages. And I guess at that time, he realized he was not bigger than Pink Floyd as he tried to make himself to be back in '87. And apparently, he fell flat on his face because apparently his shows were not selling out as much as Pink Floyd's were.
yeah, and later on, he was actually part of a reunion for them during a special concert of some sort.
Yes,
I don't remember what it was.
2005 at Live 8 in Hyde Park, London. It was announced that he would rejoin Pink Floyd for a 20-minute set there. It was brief, the full version with the reprise included on it there. Money, Wish You Were Here, and of course, Completely Numb.
Yeah,
It was after 20 years after the performances of The Wall that the four basic members of Pink Floyd would reunite there, and that would be it. That would be it there.
yeah, and actually, you got the impression that he kind of liked it.
Yeah, they do. Exactly. Now, here's something else. Gilmour tried to leave the stage as much as he can, as quickly as he could, because he wasn't really up for it at that time. But Waters kept, when they were getting, shoulders around each other's shoulders, say, "Come back, Dave. Come back, Dave." Eventually, Dave actually did, and some people are taking photographs like crazy, and we see him on the Google Images when you look up Pink Floyd, 2005.
Yeah,
Yes, and sadly, this will be the last time we would see Richard Wright perform with the group because
right.
a couple years later,
He passed.
he died from cancer in 2008. And of course, in
Yeah,
2014, they released it would be their complete official final album, The Endless River, which was basically sessions, instrumentals. Basically, it
it
was a
was stuff that was called. Yeah,
tribute to Richard Wright, basically there.
yeah.
Hey Doc. Now I wanted to comment on Pink Floyd. Like I said before, I just love their long guitar solos. I
Yeah,
love their instruments because
yeah.
they really have some really unique instrumentals, and I mean I just love it. I just love it, and I wanted to shoot on them.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Oh yeah. Well, actually, I'm glad you did because I was fixing to ask the other people on the call to kind of if they had
I think
anything they
it's
wanted
just
to contribute.
I think it's just either three at this moment. I think YR and Ken left there.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I've been listening the whole time. I told you I like to absorb knowledge, so you always can count on me. You always
Well,
Nice.
we're trying to give it to you.
All right, there. We're doing just that, kid.
Absolutely, and you can't go wrong with virtually any Pink Floyd album.
Yep.
Well, I'd say
Except for the final cut, because that record
I'd
is
say
ultra
that, and it's
depressing.
incredibly depressing.
Absolutely. Not something you want to play when you're getting ready to party down on a Saturday night.
Even Dave
almost-
gave me some yesterday night on the YR channel. Even Dave Rose told me to do my homework on certain things he wanted me to check out, and that's what's wrong with this generation, Doc. I don't think a lot of people care to want to learn and educate themselves because the more
Get
the more
information.
knowledge you have,
Right.
the more you go far in life. That's how I see it.
Yeah, but so
Yeah,
many,
Good for you.
I know, I appreciate that. I think Bozy is the same way as well. There, he's 25 and he's learning a lot of things, including the stock exchange. I get to talk to him about getting involved with that sometime soon. There, now, I guess what it is that so many people today are they're so into what's current, what's trending,
Yeah.
what's the big thing now, what's a pop song, and mostly these are the mainstream kids out there who listen to these so-called mainstream artists of today.
Yeah.
that's the thing, like, this is the thing to listen to. This is the thing to, don't venture off into other things. It's nice to at that time, they'll talk about this, they'll talk about that, but still, you must follow what's trendy today, like, and sadly, and that's what they're brought up. That's especially the young kids of today.
Now, I didn't. I never shared this part, but back when I was living in Atlanta, Georgia, before I moved to Texas, back in 2017 and 16, I was at high school, but I also had like a little summer job, which became my real job. I was working at a guitar shop called McKibben's Music,
Nice.
and Miss Susan Kibbins, her husband hired me, and I was taking lessons there, and I believe his son opened up a record store, and I worked there. So I worked at the guitar shop and his son Max McKibben's record store. So from that, I got a lot of a lot of knowledge for records, vinyl records, and I got a lot of knowledge on playing the guitar. So I was taking lessons,
Nice.
and on top of that, I was actually learning how to compare my own guitar, like learn how to like add on strings and take off strings, because I didn't know at first how to compare my own guitar, how to fix my own guitar when I had a problem, because I would have to pay like $7 just to get it restrung.
Ah.
So what Matt did, I'm just going to teach you how to restring your guitar, how to tune it, how to do this and that. So that's why I like listening to you guys, because it's where I need to be. It's my life coming full circle. Even if I'm in a different state, I want to keep doing what I'm doing, and that is
Right.
learning about music and only growing.
Well, I'd
So,
recommend if you have a chance and the time, Doc has all the episodes on his channel, and I'd start with number one and move forward, because number one, we talk about classical music,
Mm-hmm.
and then we kind of move from there into the big band era, and then we
big-
hit the 50s and go through that.
The 60s,
60s,
the
go through that.
70s, 80s.
Doc, did you by the chance cover one of my all-time favorite bands from Boston? Did you ever cover Aerosmith?
Mm.
Well, we have in part of the show, but we really hadn't gone in depth in them.
No. But we did
But we
address
need
some
to,
of
I
them. We did
suppose.
acknowledge them in one of our episodes.
Oh,
here.
absolutely.
We have, definitely.
You have to do a review on Aerosmith. They're pretty good. I love that group. I love
Oh,
that group.
nice. Mm.
Yeah,
you-
they're
would
pretty
you-
much the same as they've always been, but they've got different styles they went through.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And what do you think of it? Now, have they released a new record in a long while there, or it's just a touring band now?
Actually, they're doing shows in Vegas. They
Right.
actually do shows in Vegas.
Oh, yeah.
Aerosmith.
Wow. But have they released a new record as of late? Because I don't remember the last one that came out, I think it was.
I don't think so.
Because,
I don't
like,
think they have in a while.
I know, because I remember this talk back in around, I guess around the 90s. I was working at the restaurant in Roseville, Michigan there. One of the cooks was complaining how Aerosmith sounds more tamer, more calmer, a lot cooler sound than what they used to back in the 70s there. And he mentioned that Aerosmith probably needs to go back on the drugs so you can come out with more stuff like Round Around, Walking the Dog, or another Toys
Sweet
in the-
Emotion.
Sweet Emotion, or another Toys in the Attic there, like it's
Rocks.
Rocks, or their version of Train Kept a Rolling there, or Seeds of Wither, I mean, when you think about it there,
Stuff on drugs. It's not funny. I would never want them to go back on drugs. They were toxic.
I know. Remember, Joe Perry and Steve Tyler, they were known as the Toxic Twins.
They would go at it.
I know, yeah. I mean, I would not want to see Aerosmith go back on drugs, sadly, but to me, they need to come out with a more powerful sound that they used to have, because the past time we heard of them, most of their stuff was played on stuff like VH1, like the song Pink, I was not a fan of, and I certainly was not a fan of I Don't Want to Miss a Thing, that ballad, which is often played on the soft rock stations there.
I have to give it to Steve Tyler. His voice, his vocal range is, my God, that guy can scream.
Yeah, he can.
He can scream.
Absolutely, there he is one of the most powerful frontmen out there, next to either Paul Stanley and Ozzy Osbourne there, or Rob
And I
Halford.
can't believe
as well.
he actually he invented the band called He had a hand in the band called Guns N' Roses on Axl Rose's career too,
With
because Axl
Stevens.
has a beautiful vocal range too.
Yeah, obviously, yeah, he does. I guess he has a 5 point octave, Axel does, if I understand there. I remember reading that in the magazine there.
When it comes to unique voices, I look up to Steven Tyler, Axl Rose, um, what's his name, Vince Neil from Motley Crue,
Yeah, the old
Sebastian
Vince
Bach,
Neil.
Skid Row.
Yeah,
Now Sebastian Bach, he's a whole different case. Cause that dude, oh my God, he can sing so beautifully.
yeah.
I don't know if you know who that is, Sebastian Bach from
Yes,
Skid
I
Row.
know. Yes, I do. I remember. Yes. What about
I
Rob
got into
Halford?
him. I cried because his voice is amazing, Doc.
What
His
about
voice is
what
so
about
amazing.
Rob Halford of Judas Priest? Because he's often credited many
Yeah,
times as a supreme vocalist there.
him too.
Yes, because
And Freddie Mercury
yes,
has a unique
absolutely.
voice.
Man had a phenomenal talent and amazing voice to back it up as well there.
We don't see a lot of guys with amazing voice anymore. I wonder why. Like, where are they at? We don't see guys with a
True.
great vocal range anymore. What happened to that
I have
generation?
no clue. I have no clue. So many things have changed throughout since back then. And the way it's changed is outright pitiful when you look at it.
It is.
I mean, now these days you gotta have. They try to be a singer. They try to be an artist. Where they often call themselves artists. They call themselves songwriters. But I don't know. I guess the bands of the '90s, these hippie, new hippie groups out there, these hippie jam bands, whether it's the Spin Doctors or the wallflowers, the sensitive stuff, they got the idea, oh, we just don't have to sing that good. We just sound like we're singing, but we'll make it big there, like sing all this depressing stuff about
Uh,
how sensitive they are. And give me a break.
Not to interrupt you, Doc. That's why when I talk to you, you ask me who was my favorite musician going now. I would say Prince, but Prince is dead.
I
So
know.
I transitioned into loving the work that Lenny Kravitz has because I truly believe Lenny Kravitz is one of the last remaining rock stars of that era
Ah,
of
yes.
the '90s. Because he was around. He was around when Aerosmith was big, when Guns N' Roses was big.
Yep.
So I look up to Lenny Kravitz because he was there in the '80s and '90s, as a star. And like they say, he is one of the most last remaining rock stars of that era.
Yeah, it's
Because a
true
lot of
there.
a lot of these rock stars are just dropping like flies. They're just dying. I don't know why.
Well,
And they
because,
always say, "Oh,"
I think
they
because,
always say that.
I know, I think what it is that some of the, I guess in time, some of their habits may be playing a part of it. Like, for example, Let Me Kill Mr. Motorhead, Eddie Van Halen, they were heavy smokers. And I
Yes.
guess when you smoke way too much as those two did, you're going to eventually get cancer. Like Eddie,
Yeah.
he had part of his tongue removed because he had developed tongue cancer, but yet he still continued to smoke. Why? It's hard to quit that shit because of the nicotine. Like it's considered
Yeah.
worse than heroin. And eventually, it would have been the cancers would eventually get up with you, definitely soon. For I remember,
Yeah.
he was not looking that good from reports, when he went to Germany here and there for cancer treatment there. And even David O. Ross said, Van Halen's no more. He kind of knew what was going to happen when you think about it there. And, sadly, I guess a lot of these other acts out there, often people move on to one group to another there. Like,
Oh,
let me give you
smoke.
another example. Do you remember the hair bands like Warrant, Twisted Sister, and all those bands out there?
Yeah.
Yes, remember. That scene was big around, 86 to 80, 89 there, or at 1990 before the grunge movement came along. Oh, it's sad to see those groups, resorting to playing, they was about to play, they were just about to really make it big with their songs, their albums, their videos on the old MTV. And then all of a sudden, Nirvana comes along, Pearl Jam comes along, the grunge scene comes along. It's all alternative now. Then they had to resort to playing, bowling alleys and small dives. It's sad when you think about it. There, you wonder where are all our fans? Where are all the people that stood by us in the past? Well, I'm just surprised. Some of the fans that came out to say "see" during those days were just fans for the moment because apparently your songs and your music was trending at that period there. You know,
Mhm.
And those fans are not real, the true fans, you know.
Yeah, let me interject something real quick here while I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
Are we doing Thursday?
Yes, we are. 6 p.m.
Genesis.
Good. Definitely. We need a people.
Early Genesis.
There we go.
There was this one kid by the name of I think his name was he was a good friend of mine. His name is Brandon Hardy. And when I tell you, Doc,
Yeah.
I was so jealous because people back in the high school used to call me Prince. But when this man walked the hallways, I mean, he had the stunning, and I mean stunning. And I don't even look like men like that. I don't roll that way. But this guy had a stunning look to him. I mean, he had the blue eyes and blonde hair to where people were calling him Brat Michaels. I mean, he sounded, he moved like Brat Michaels. I mean, he looked like the front man from Poison. Like he looked exactly like him. And in my opinion, I got jealous. I said, dude, Prince, the singer, the guy who passed away, he was a gorgeous looking dude. But when girls look at Brandon, I'm like, dang, this guy really has it made. I mean, his hair just blonde, blue eyes. I mean, he was like, oh my God. I'm like, dude, what can you not do? And then when I come to find out, he had sung in chorus. He was singing in chorus. I was like, wow.
Wow.
He might just be the next Bret Michaels.
Huh, it's kind of interesting. I'll bet he probably got a little of the poontang back then.
Yeah, yes. I was like, dude, I said, you're like Vince Neil, Axl Rose, Bret Michaels combined into one. And then his hair was like so long, like he looked like Sebastian Bach at certain times, you know?
Yeah.
Dude,
No doubt, 'cause I know that was the big thing for the girls back then. They wanted to be with Sebastian Bach, Vince Neil, Bret Michaels back in the day because they were sexy, they were gorgeous, you know. They had the hot bodies, the marble, smooth as marble skin there, you know. While the regular guys like us, you know, were just like, we were ignored, you know, and that kind of bummed me out. I remember to tell you this one story. My ex-girlfriend one time, and I did call her out for her months later for doing this. I was unemployed at that time. I was staying at her place for the weekend. She was like, you know, talking about Bret Michaels, and this is at the time when Bret Michaels had that brain hemorrhage, you know, surgery there, and plus, you know, he was on this Celebrity Apprentice with a man, of course, who would later become our president later on. And she actually prayed that Bret Michaels would get better. You know, please God, let Bret Michaels get better. You know, don't let us succumb to this hemorrhage and stuff. And I couldn't help but be pissed off because at the time she should be praying for me because I was unemployed, I was struggling, I was going through some issues there, you know, financially wise. She couldn't come up with a prayer for me, and later on I screamed at her for doing that.
Yes.
You know, that makes me mad. It's like,
not to interrupt, back in middle school, I mean, when I tell you, you guys are talking to a young kid that had a catalog, and I mean back in middle school, Doc, when I tell you, people used to shun me, shame me, say I was weird, I was stupid, I was different, because back in middle school, I used to dabble in reading books about, because they had it in my local library, and
Hello?
Yeah, I used to go through some of that too, actually, through middle school and high school, where I was the weirdo because
I was an outcast. I was an outcast because I didn't smoke, I didn't drink, I didn't really abide by everybody else's rules, which back then was the main thing. But the thing is, you know,
well, all that in high grades.
I'm sorry, Doc.
Okay.
Hold on, I have to handle something. I got a phone call from my mom. Hold on.
Okay. All right. Oh, wait, we'll still be here, I guess. Man, I was an outcast, like I said, because as I mentioned, you know, I didn't smoke, I didn't drink, I didn't do drugs, I didn't do this, you know. And back then, you either had to do those things or you were cast out. Remember the Rush lyric? Be cool or be cast out. Yeah. And now you find out some of those kids are having, you know, having addiction issues. They're having problems of their own because they can't get off the booze or the alcohol. I told you this story before about the ex-friend, you know, pushing me aside because I wouldn't smoke weed or drink with him. And he later ended up having 3 strokes years on down the line, to the point where he has trouble walking. He had to resort to using a cane at times there. But, you know, it's kind of funny, you know, like, I hardly talk to the guy, you know, even though we're buddies on Facebook, I hardly comment on anything, you know.
Right.
It's like, there were a lot of times, I want to call them out, say, hey, you pushed me away because I wasn't what you wanted me to be, you know. I had a hard time picking up women during the glamour those days of the Ritz and Roseville because one, I wore glasses, which at that time was kind
Right.
of nerdy-ish. I didn't have all that massive hair, and I dressed my own way there. And I guess what it was is that because I wasn't when everybody else was dressing at that time, I was looked on as a weirdo. Now, some of those people are dying off for this reason or that reason. I'm still here, along with a couple others there. And you got to remember, this was way back before we see things on these memes on Facebook saying, be your own kind of individual. Have your own ideas, speak your opinion, not everybody else's. Be your own kind of crazy. That's how it was
Right.
back then there. So I can understand where these memes that we see now, like I mentioned, are coming from there. You know, oh boy. Like I said, I guess Famov Ken and YR left the program. Hopefully, we'll be back on this coming Thursday where we take a look at Genesis. The original Genesis and the current Genesis, which I understand is going to be doing
Well,
another reunion tour.
we'll briefly touch on the one with Phil Collins
Hmm.
for the most part, but I
Yeah.
want to spend a lot of time on the Peter Gabriel version.
Yeah, because
And actually, the early Phil Collins before they became a top 40 machine.
yeah, no, but because people need to know about that Genesis other than the Genesis we hear on the radio.
And then after that, I'd like to delve into Kansas.
Yeah, the band Kansas. Credit to
Right.
them. But composing
They
one
were,
of the most.
at that time, the only American prog rock band that was largely prog rock, because a lot of people put Boston in prog.
I know, yeah, but there was a discussion about that on Monetize This back then.
And it's borderline.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see it, but to me, it's really borderline. I could see the prog bit because, I mean, Foreplay Long Time is definitely prog,
Yeah.
but a lot of the other stuff is kind of like hard rock stuff. It's not really prog. More Than Feeling's not prog.
That's true there. Just Foreplay, The Journey, and of course, the launch from their first three records, that's prog. That's about it.
Yeah. So I guess you could put them there, but, well, it's kind of like, there were other groups that did some proggy stuff but weren't prog groups. Procol Harum comes to mind.
Yeah, that's true there.
They did a lot of things that you could consider prog, but they weren't a prog band. The biggest thing they did that was prog to me was In Hell 'Twas I,
Yeah.
which is about a 17-minute thing that they do on, I think, the Shine On Brightly album.
Yeah.
That is definitely worth a listen.
All right.
That is an incredible song, and it's definite prog. But by and large, they didn't do prog. They kind of did AOR. They were more into album-oriented rock.
All right. Okay. You think we should end the show, or should we wait till Prince Idol gets back there?
Well, we can end it and kind of wait for Prince.
I am probably. All right, there. I should probably definitely we should probably end the show right now. We want to thank YR and Famov Ken for coming on there.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
Prince Idol, I know he stepped away to talk to his mom. I guess we'll get in touch with him, let him know that we'd like to have him back this coming Thursday. And there's going to be a change in the time slot. I'm not going to be doing anything with the Real Swag TV for a long, long while now. So we'll be able to go live at 6 p.m.
Yeah.
Central Time here.
Okay, well, go ahead and end the stream because I want to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely there. All right. Thank you for Arknolia, Prince Idol, YR, and Famov Ken. Thanks to those guys for coming on. This has been Arknolia and the Doctor. We will see you this Thursday at 7